Is Bede's Eostre really a dawn goddess? Let's find out. Disclaimer, this video is not trying to downplay anyone's devotion nor festivities to Easter. Rather, if one wants to worship her, that is okay. In fact, I would encourage it if one is already doing so. For us to understand Easter truly, we must accept what the literature says about her as it is. Okay? We must accept what the literature says about her as it is. Okay? Moving on. So, we have the famous Bede here, coined as the father of English history, or what have you. He says, I'm going to read the English translation here by Faith Wallace. Eostre Monath has a name which is now translated Paschal month, and which was once called after a goddess of theirs named Eostre, and whose honor feasts were celebrated in that month. Now they designate that Paschal season by her name, calling the joys of the new rite by the time-honored name of the old observance. Now, within the translation, there's no mention of dawn, which is interesting of itself. Nothing that would hint towards dawn. I mean, now they designate that Paschal season by her name, and so this would include, this may encourage one to really dissect what is Paschal really all about. Of course, this is hinting towards the advent of Abrahamism in the form of Christianity, referring to the resurrection of Lord Christ, if I'm correct on that. Anyway, so the thing is, even within the Latin, there is no mention of dawn. There's no Latin words that mean dawn, like Aurora, Prima Lux, dīlūcŭlum. Forgive me for my bad Latin pronunciation. There's no Oriens, which I believe means rising. For those of you who know Latin, let me know down below. For those of you who actually know Latin, let me know down below. Is this a good translation, a bad translation? Because it's very important for us to understand history when we learn the languages of the past, so we know who's telling the truth about the past, intentionally or unintentionally, right? So it's important. It's always important to learn Latin. It's always important to learn Old English, again, because there are people who, I can say more forgivingly that there are people who unintentionally tell an untruth. Whereas you get people that deliberately lie about the past, which is not cool at all. But moving on. So from this, we learn that Bede does not say that Eostre is a dawn goddess. So there's no indication. I mean, apart from what we can get from this is the Paschal season. That's pretty much it, really. There's no indication of dawn. Explicitly. All right. So, however, so B doesn't say that Eostre is a dawn goddess, but however, just because Bede doesn't explicitly say that she's not a dawn goddess, the name itself can be applied to the dawn goddess. All right, and yes, there is a dawn goddess. I mean, we live in Earth, right? I mean, we have dawn all over the world, right? So there has to be a dawn goddess, right? So the name itself is a directional epithet. It can be applied as a directional epithet, literally meaning she who is of the east. You can loosely translate as that, or eastern one, or what have you. But I will dissect this a little more later in this video. As Latin Aurora, not only means dawn, but also means the east. The east. Moving on. So, to go a little further into this, for those of you who may hear this for the first time, it may be a little strange. Thing is, a goddess being a person, with personality, of course, has more than one name. Just as a human being, when a man comes home, his son calls him dad, his first daughter calls him daddy, his second daughter calls him papa, or what have you, and his wife calls him honey. And these are all names designated for the same personality in question. This could be applied to a human being. Why would a goddess be less? Right? Of course, if a human being can have more than one name, so can a goddess. However, let's go right into the name Eostre itself. It has a relic feature of this medial contracted TR, as we have an uncontracted form in Old High German in the adverb Ōstar, and it's attested as a prefix in the proper noun of Ōstarfranko, meaning Eastern Franks. Moving forward, we have Ōstara, and its contracted form of Ōstara, in a nominative singular, so the subject form, if you will. And then, interestingly enough, we have Ōstarūn, which is in the nominative plural, and I believe the latter became what we know now as in standard German, if you will, for Ostern, for Easter, if you will. However, in Old High German, for this word specifically, Ōstara and its variants, the final A signifies a female agent, and like a person, if you will. And the thing is with Old High German as well as Old English, that nouns are categorized in three genders: masculine, feminine, neuter, as well as strong and weak. And in Old High German, Ōstara is categorized as a weak feminine noun, and SB stands for substantive. It's a fancier way of saying noun. As for the final E in Old English, this, in the case of Eostre, very specifically, the BT dictionary labels it as a weak neuter noun. Well, I mean, neuter noun, but like you would have to study Old English to know like what is a weak and what is a strong noun. So in this case, in Old English, it's a weak neuter noun. But final E, as far as like weak nouns go, in Old English, final E also indicates a weak feminine noun as well. The only way to distinguish between the two, is it a feminine weak noun or a feminine neuter noun, is the article that comes before it, if you will. Like, you know, so that's why it's good to know your demonstrative articles, like, you know, and like words like the and that, if you will. Anyway, so that aside, so essentially what this means is like she who's in the East, or the Eastern one. And in the Old English context, despite the noun being historically being neuter, you can still treat it as if it were feminine, in the context that, let's say, you want to you still use the possessive pronoun, like her, hire with Eostre, as is the case used with the noun weef, and weef means woman. It's a neuter noun, but if you want to refer to the woman and her dog, you would use the feminine hire for her in the possessive, if that makes sense. All right. So anyway, let's move on. So conclusion: does Bede say Eostre is a dawn goddess? No. Can the name be applied to the dawn goddess? Yes, of course, as a directional epithet. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you are new, and if you really like the channel, please become a patron at my Patreon page down below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.